Hello, Sustainable Parents, Flora McCormick here, and we are having some question answer time. So let me know if you are listening here live. We are so excited to be having some bonus days here following last week's Calm Confident Parenting workshop. If you didn't catch that yet, there were over 50 parents that attended live and up to hundreds that have been watching the replays and saying things like, this is really finally opening a door where my partner and I are feeling on the same page. Other parents saying, I used what you were talking about and actually felt calm today in a different way than I have. And others saying, this is so practical and right on. If you especially haven't seen day one, we identify the 3 common errors that most parents with the best of intentions are making. And those errors are making them feel stuck and stay stuck in cycles of struggle. And so it's a really, really good one to notice, to see if you have not yet, to be able to identify and go, holy smokes. Yeah. And then the beauty is it's not about just shame or blame. It's like, then let's get the heck out of here. Let's quit making these old mistakes. So those that are showing up live, tell me that you're here. Give a wave of a hand, drop your name so that I can see you. When I'm here with StreamYard, sometimes I can't always see your name. So with this question answer time, I asked folks to give me some questions ahead of time, and a few people did. So I want to dive into being able to offer those right now. Or address those. I'm going to jump into what people sent me in Messenger first. But those of you that are on here live, you drop your questions right now. And as soon as I see them come in, then I will switch over and start answering your questions because I want to be right here with you live. So let me know you're here. Let me know what your questions are related to things that you got out of the Calm Confident Parenting workshop, or things that just have been on your mind about parenting. Like, gosh, I'm really trying to figure out this thing and it's just not coming together. Whether it's what to do during tantrums, what to do when kids don't seem to care about consequences. What are your questions? I'm going to make sure we tag some folks that I know we're wanting to be here so that they can know we are live. All right. Okay, the first question that I'm going to jump into is, how do I deal with tantrums with a 3-year-old? This question was submitted by Allison, and I super appreciate you asking this question, Allison. Let's talk about this. So my first question back to her in Messenger was, well, okay, so if you're using the strategies that we talked about yesterday or in the workshop, you don't want to be going neck up. When kids are having a tantrum, we do not negotiate with a terrorist, right? We are not going to just try to reason and say, well, what about this? Can this make it okay? Hi, Allison, I see you there. So first rule, we don't want to negotiate with a terrorist, because as we talked in day 1 of the Calm Confident workshop, that's parenting from the neck up. That's trying to be reasoning your brain in the frontal lobes with a brain that's either emotional, half flipped, or full flipped, and only the amygdala working. And the reasoning doesn't land on a brain that's able to be in the conversation. So we don't want to be overly talking to them. That's the first idea. The second thing is, we talk about in the workshop last week again, is that we don't want to be asking the wrong questions. Like, why are you doing this? Why is this so hard for you? That puts us in a position of just being frustrated with them. We want to be problem solving. What do I want to do about this? And our kids, our toddlers especially, are always testing rules and boundaries to see what happens when they do. They're always testing rules and boundaries to see what happens when they do. They are little scientists. Often that is the cause of a tantrum. It can be that they're testing to see if it gets more attention out of you, if it pulls you into a struggle that even though it's bad attention, it gives them some attention. They might be testing if it gets you to give in. So we don't want to be doing any of those things that could be feeding it. The other common source of tantrums is that they're emotional little beings that haven't yet mastered how to manage that emotion. And so if you feel like you're doing a good job on having a clear boundary, it's not changing what they get out of the situation. You're not overly giving them attention by like talking a lot or even correcting. Then if it's the lagging skill over here of not knowing how to manage emotions, we want to help them build the sense of how to manage emotions. And there's a couple ways we do that. One way is having boundaries around expression, meaning all feelings are valid. Certain options must be limited. All feelings are valid. Certain actions must be limited. So we're not going to tell him, you cannot be upset. But we can say, you can be upset that I had to take that truck door away because you were banging it on the table, or you can be upset that we had to leave the park because you were throwing sand. You will not be screaming in my face. Either I'm going to buckle your seatbelt and I'm going to take a moment outside the car till you're done screaming. Or if we're at home, it might mean walking away, letting him roll around and scream there and just moving on and focusing on other things. It might mean needing to ask them to take space by putting them into their crib or in their room. And this doesn't have to be in a mean way. It is not the old 80s timeout, go in there till you feel bad enough to behave worse or behave better. Heck no, that's not what sustainable parenting is about. In sustainable parenting, there are 3 key pillars, though, that I find a lot of families only standing on 1 or 2 of these legs or kind of bouncing between the legs, but not having a cohesive strategy of we do this, then this, then this every time in a predictable manner. That's what makes us work our way out of the tantrums, us build their ability to manage emotions for a clean, crisp, simple, sustainable, repeatable, like expectation of what's going to happen. And those 3 legs are connection, encouraging cooperation, and ownership. So kind of think of the acronym of CEO. We start around compassionate, connective, validation, and strategies that are aware of this flip lid process and actually respond to biology, not just psychology of what's happening in that moment, help them calm down. Then we use strategies that encourage the cooperation of a human being that has their own interest and will and sense of wanting power in the situation. And then we move to ownership of, you know what, these are your choices. So I drew this out for you, Allison. Tell me if this is helpful or if you've seen this before, actually, too. I've been sharing this map of parenting in a way I have never seen people draw it out this simply and clear, really effectively. This is a big piece of the O section of the ownership and how I help people understand how this can really work for you to change behavior and to keep your calm, to help you feel powerful in a compassionate way. So this is to say, you know what? You, honey, now have a choice. You can keep screaming and I am going to walk away, or you can lower your voice and take a breath, and I'd be happy to sit with you to help you calm down. So, Allison, you said sometimes your son, you try to give him some space to calm down and he doesn't calm down. What I would look for is when you've drawn these options out and you have him in a space that you listen. And it's not like an all or nothing, like you're just going to go in there for a certain amount of time. I think it's better to respond to the emotion and what you see coming out of the child, which means I listen for a moment of relaxation and pause in their scream or in that space that they're taking. And then I attend to it, to the positive. Oh, wow. Sounds like you're taking some steps to calm down. Nice job. So I can kind of bounce up here. And if they start to soften, and then I can sit down with them and help them relax. If they continue screaming, I walk away again. Looks like you're needing more time. And then come back. So you can start giving some attention, noting and catching the good, adding sugar to the lemonade. When we can catch the good, it can have so much more power than just punitive. And then afterwards, a really important part of the process is saying one of the two things afterwards, after they've calmed down and you're moving on. Boy, I saw how upset you got about that. I bet you'll make a different choice next time so that we can just calm down quickly. You want to point back to this and how you have faith that they'll likely choose that next time. Not like, don't you think you coulda? Why don't you choose that next time? Just having faith. Give them that encouragement. Or lastly, you can problem solve with them, especially older kids. What could you do differently next time so that we don't even face this situation? Could you have just chosen another toy or something like that? I haven't seen that diagram before, says a listener. I think we need to be more consistent. Little bits are working. We've got a smart scientist, I hear. I think we're close, and the direct reminders are really great to hear. I'm so glad. Thanks, Allison. So the also biggest thing that I would emphasize is those three legs of the tripod, and remembering that all of those pieces working together are what I find being most effective. So let me just show you that tripod, and so that people are able to see it really well. And then others that have questions, feel free to ask away. So I'm going to see if this will let me share my screen. You tell me if it ends up doing so. Let's see here. We'll try. All right. How are we here? Are we able to see it? Let me know if you're seeing this screen of, oh boy, there's a lot of things happening on here. Well, we'll see if you're able to see it. So in the Calm Confident Parenting material, what I teach to parents is compassion, encouraging cooperation, and ownership. Compassion, encouraging cooperation, and ownership. And I think you should be able to see this now. These three pieces really have to work together. I see a lot of families that kind of pull from pieces of them, but when they're not fully connectedly working as a team, they don't get us to our goal. So I've established this as my signature sustainable parenting curriculum outline that is really helping parents to both absorb it, okay, I learned all this stuff, but I don't know how to really remember it. So this helps them to do that. This helps them to be able to think, I know now with this recipe how to be able to do this first. We do these things in the C area. Then when that is not calming the storm, we go to E. Often the C and E help us to get out of over 60% of the power struggles, negotiation battles, and resistance. So take a look there. I'd love to hear what questions you have about the CEO model. And the third piece is that we move into the ownership when we need to. When we need to go to ownership, then we do so in a way that is not just throwing stuff at the wall, the level of consequence is really about the level of how angry I am. They don't learn from that. When the level of consequence matches the behavior and we speak about it in a way of choices, not them being a good or bad boy, having a good or bad day, that's how things change. When we speak about it I wonder what you'll do differently next time to make a better choice. They start hearing these words, they really matter. How we speak about the things that we're trying to do makes just as much an impact of the things we're doing. We, ask them to take space, but we're like, you need to go there because you're being naughty. That just induces shame. If we say we want you to go there until you're ready to be a good boss of your body again. Ooh, that's a different framework. Courtney, great to see you. What questions do you have, my dear? So fun to have you throughout last week's workshop. See a few other people live with me. Go ahead and ask your questions. This time is for you. All right. As questions are still getting written in, I'm going to answer another question that came online ahead of time. So, a question that came online ahead of time was, what do I do when my kid just seems so emotional, like out of proportion emotional? It doesn't even make sense, the things that she blows up over. Like, she was asking to be able to go out and be on a trampoline. And I was like, no, you got to take a bath and go to bed. And then she just got so upset. Like I just told her that, her next 5 birthdays are canceled or something. And then it's just this explosion. I'm like talking to her and it doesn't get any better. How do you help with those like irrational emotional explosions? Well, friend, that is totally why we start with connection and then we go into encouraging cooperation. Because again, thinking back to the brain in the palm of your hand, if we know that the brain has 3 main emotional states, which really affect where the blood flow is and what is firing in neurons, we know we've got this sort of rational state, reasonable state. We have the limbic system activated and the relational aspects of feelings and memories activated, where we call it the relate stage, or we have flipped lid, amygdala working, fight, flight, or freeze, where they need help to regulate, to kind of that nervous system is just popping and fizzing and all the cortisol's going to the brain, which is like battery acid. It's just like flooding them that they cannot think straight. They need our help. So if you look at your child in that situation of like irrational and you tend to turn to them and try to rationally talk them out of it, that's why it's not working. So we have to have neck down parenting. As we talked about in day 1 of the Calm Confident workshop, neck down parenting says, I'm going to look at the biology, not just psychology of what I think I want to tell you. Biology of attachment and the human nervous system knows that when you're flooded emotionally, you need support. You need predictability to choose a better behavior. So there's so many tools that I love to give parents in the area of connection and compassion and encouraging cooperation that really speak to that work to give you the ways to be able to work out of that irrational moment in an actually effective way, not talking that is ineffective. Courtney says, I'm struggling with sibling rivalry. My son's 6, scratched my daughter 3, breaking the skin last night because she wanted to play with them. How do you deal with this? Oh, Courtney, such a good question. And I would love, Courtney, to make sure we get on a clarity call soon so that we can dive in. After you being at all 3 days of the Calm Confident workshop, you have access to be able to have a free 30-minute call. So let's make sure we dive more into it there. To get started, the sibling rivalry is really, there's so many factors that can contribute. So one is that lagging skill. He maybe, what do you think is the reason that he scratched her? Was he just standing over here and she's way over there? He just went over and scratched her? That might be about trying to get attention out of you, to get a rise and screech from her so that you rush over. If it's that he was mad at her and he scratched her, then it's about, he's trying to figure out how to communicate when he's angry, how to manage when he's angry, and he didn't choose a real great strategy this time. So we need to build his other ways to know how to manage anger. If it's that they, are fighting over a toy and sister was taking it away, it can be about teaching conflict skills. They're not knowing as peers, siblings, to how to solve problems. So let's work on that. Let's build maybe like a wheel of choices of what are the different ways when you guys are frustrated with each other that you can work it out. And we do this in a very simple way that speaks to the child's brain, even a 3 and 6-year-old, to start building those skills of more cooperative play. So it sounds like there's a lagging skill of some kind. You have to listen to your gut, Courtney, and feel free to let us know here in the comments. What do you think it is? What's the motivation underneath? We're not going to ask him. We're not going to be like, why are you doing this? He's not going to have an answer. So you got to get on your wise mind as a mama and just get curious, not furious. Okay. Well, any last questions that folks want to ask? We have just a few minutes left here of our bonus question answer time. Again, if you have not yet checked out the Calm Confident Parenting Workshop, I definitely recommend that you not miss that, because it's going to give you all of the tools to be able to have more joy and ease, get out of that like rat or the hamster wheel cycle of like they're not listening and you lose your temper and then you feel guilty, so you give in, and then they're not listening again and you lose your temper, and on the cycle goes. This workshop is completely intended for you if that is something that you've been experiencing. So I'll make sure and put that below. Last call for any other final questions of the question answer time here. Bonus third day from the Sustainable Parenting Workshop. All right, I'm going to put the link in here for day 1 if anyone wants to start back at place 1. Oh, Courtney did have a thought. She was playing with his new toy. He didn't want her to. Definitely big enough for 4 to 5 kids to play with, though. Yeah, so Courtney, we just can't overestimate our kids' ability to manage these things. Remember, even though he's 6, he just landed on the planet 6 years ago. And think of how many 20, 30, or 50-year-olds who still don't really know how to say with words when they're upset with someone. Hey, I wish that you hadn't done it like that. Or, hey, I would like a turn. This is how I would like it done. It takes assertiveness, and it's really hard to have that sometimes. So we may be finding that, we want him to be more capable than he's really ready for. That doesn't mean that you can't grow that, but how do we do it? We don't just say, hey, you know better. We say, hey, we need to sit down and really talk about how we can support, or how you guys can solve problems. It's, I say all feelings are accepted, certain actions must be limited. It's totally okay that you did not want sister to have that toy. And what can you do when someone has something you don't want her to have? What can you say? What can you do? Maybe trade toys. Do we want to put this toy in a special place so that if it just came as a gift and you want to have it just for yourself for a little bit, that's okay. Or whatever your family values are. If your family value is everything belongs to everyone, we're going to share, then we got to, and then maybe it's setting a clear boundary here in the ownership section. When you have, when you share your toy, then we can have it out and able to play. And if you're not able to share it, then we're not able to have it out. We either share or we have nothing. So many different ways that we can go about it. I'm going to go to stop sharing. All right. Really, really great. Thank you guys so much for your amazing questions and for continuing to show up for yourself and your kids. I'm just incredibly proud of you for wanting to keep learning, being open and vulnerable to be here and ask questions. And I would love to continue on the road with you in a more personalized way. I've had 3 families in the last 48 hours join the Sustainable Parenting Transformation. So it is happening. The deadline is this Friday. Doors are closing at that time. So then I can just fully focus on supporting those families at the deepest level in wraparound support of teaching and mentoring and problem solving and supporting them in this path towards a new chapter. So if you want to be inside there, you want to be one of those parents, please comment below just the words clarity call or contact me, please, Flora, and I'll reach out to you. Or you can always reach out to me also in Messenger. Let's not let anything get in the way of you taking this moment to step forward, to say, I'm really ready for the next chapter to be different than our last chapter has been. That's all it takes. It takes you making that step for you to start having new results. Talk soon, guys. Bye.